absolutely. Hey, there we go. I was just talking that whole time and the microphone wasn't working. There you go. So let me reset here as I was pointing over here. Each time I was doing this, I was talking about producer Dave and the fact that he's not here today. He's got his real job to take care of. He's got other things he's got to do. A big thank you to him for all the work he does, not only here, he's helped us set up the new cameras in our studio, and he even hooked us up this weekend. He watched our dog Lucy for us over the weekend, who apparently made best friends with his dog, which was completely and utterly adorable. But anyway, big thank you to producer Dave. I owe you. You better be here next week so I can give you your gift, because a big thank you for producer Dave. Anyway, on that note, we got a bunch of topics that we're going to get to today on the AfterBuzz now that I actually have audio and I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. And before I do that, make sure down below you guys are clicking like, you guys are clicking subscribe, you're clicking for the notifications so that you're able to get notified when we do go live, especially in today's days like today when we're running a little bit behind, because we are working on some really cool, fun stuff for the morning show, some things that we should all be gung-ho about, and should be a lot of fun to go do, and hopefully you guys will enjoy watching it. But on that note, again, as always, if you're watching this live, you are more than welcome to jump into the old YouTube chat. You can let me know, where you're at. I'll give you a shout out. Or if you want, ask questions, make comments. Now, if you're watching this on a replay, obviously the comments, I'm not going to see them right now. But if you do want to check this out live, this happens every Wednesday, 10:30 Mountain Time, right here on the KLAQ YouTube channel. On that note, let's dive right into our topics today. In case you didn't know this, one of the reasons I was off on Monday is I take every couple of months a day off because I head over to Austin with my wife. She's getting her fellowship in manual therapy, and the classes are over at Texas State over in Round Rock. So technically it's like really far north Austin that we're going to. And they're fun little trips. We usually head out Friday after the show is over, like in the afternoon at some time, stay a couple of nights, head back Sunday night, and then I take Monday off because I'm not going to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm getting into town at midnight. But anyway, so that's what we do. Austin's a cool, cool town, man. I love heading out there every couple of months. Unfortunately, we're not able to do a whole lot when it comes to being in Austin because she's in class all day and I'm working all day. This is something that we talked about yesterday, Tuesday on the morning show. Was Buzz was asking about, taking these days off, and how I mentioned that, yeah, this is something that I've kind of incorporated into me using the weekend as work days, which is why I get Monday off. I'm not just lounging around, not doing anything while we're over in Austin. I'm actually busting my ass getting work done because there's not enough hours in the week to do my regular job. There's certain things that I kind of wait on for, those couple of months that I can update, like the imaging. You'll notice that will happen frequently, is that when we head over to Austin, when I get back within that next week at some point, you're going to start to hear new things on the show because that's when I produce the stuff. I take the stuff that Buzz has sent me and I rearrange all that stuff. And that's just one of those tasks that I don't have time for during the regular work week. So that's why I end up doing that. So anyway, that's the fun stuff. Austin's a pretty dope town, but man, their roadways are all jacked up. I'm blanking on the freeway because as I'm driving it, I'm just looking at my phone. But they're reorganizing everything down there, and they're creating, I guess, like new toll roads and stuff. And we got pinged. We were there earlier this year, and I took a wrong turn, and I hopped on the wrong freeway, and I ended up on a toll road for one full stretch before, like on off, very next exit. And we got, the rental car company charged us. It's not the end of the world. It was only a few bucks, but still, it's a pain in the ass when it's not something that you want. They have this one stretch of freeway. It's completely gutted, and there's almost no signage as to what in the ever-living hell is going on. Like we were at one point, there's 3 lanes, and so you got the fast lane, you got the middle lane, and then you got the slow lane. And we're going, this way on the slow lane, and there's no sign of merge left, lane ends, right turn only. Right at the very end, right where it does end, there's a little sign with an arrow pointing to the right, but that was it. And I had to anchor it over into the other lanes. Otherwise, I would have done like a Dukes of Hazzard over this fucking gravel mound that they had out on the freeway. It was insane. And I have never encountered such a cluster bleep on the freeway system as I did this past trip. Every other time that we've gone, it hasn't been that bad. But for some strange reason, this one has just been horrendous in regards to what they're doing with this freeway system, because nothing is labeled properly, and it's just like, oh, the roadway's ending and we're not going to warn you about it, which was, incredibly weird. But if you've never been to Austin, it's a pretty cool town. I thoroughly enjoy it. I do like being able to kind of go kick back and relax with the wife for a little bit, go out to a couple of nice dinners, have a couple of glasses of beer, and get some work done in the hotel room the next day. Next topic, lots of sports stuff on today's AfterBuzz, simply because, well, if this is a really nice, sportsy time. Not a whole lot to talk about in regards to football. I did watch that Patriots game on Sunday. So basically what happens is we stay Friday and Saturday at the hotel in Austin, and then Sunday I'll go drop my wife off at her class, and then when I go back, they have a really pretty, like a nice kind of lobby at the hotel that we stay at. So they have these kind of booths that are set up, and they have TVs right there. So I'll work for 8 hours, because she usually gets out of class around 4. So I'll sit there and work, and I got the TV right there. And man, alive, that Patriot game was tough to watch because that offense looked like garbage. Major props to the Bills defense, but yeah, that offense absolutely looked like complete dog doo-doo. But what was interesting is I have all of my bags. So I've got my laptop set up. I've got a bunch of other things that I'm working with around me, and I've got we share one big bag. I've got that sitting there as well. And so I'm like, crap, I got to go to the bathroom. Like, I have to pee. And this is at like noon. So I'm locked in for at least another 4 hours. And I'm like, I don't feel like collecting everything and moving it and doing all this stuff. So I sat there for 4 hours having to go to the bathroom until I finally packaged everything up. I was done with my work. I had wrapped everything up and was able to put everything away. And then I finally decided to go to the bathroom. So like that whole final part of the Patriots game, I'm like doing this thing while I'm working, bouncing up and down. I had to look like a complete idiot to the guy that was working the front desk. But yeah, that's how I spent my Sunday, was watching that stuff. The wife and I are on a 2-game losing streak right now in fantasy football. Thank you very much, Dak Prescott and Juju Smith-Schuster, for crapping the bed this week. But man, we annihilated the waiver wire a couple of weeks ago, or just last week. Because there was the one Redskins wide receiver. He didn't play last week. I believe he's a rookie, McLaurin. Because he's been one of the top wide receivers so far this year in fantasy football. Nobody took him, but it was the night before. So our waiver wire hits Thursday morning. It was Wednesday when it was announced that Melvin Gordon would be reporting to the Chargers, and he was going to come back. And I told my wife, I'm like, look, we're going to make some moves here. We ended up changing our kickers. We went with Zane Gonzalez from Arizona, which was a disaster because he was missing field goals this past Sunday, so that sucked. But I told my wife, I'm like, so how the waiver wire works is we'll put in on the top the people that we really want, and hopefully we get those, and then it works from there. But you generally don't get everybody that you want. We got everybody. We got Melvin Gordon and McLaurin. Gonzalez, we're probably going to dump him this week anyway. But we got everybody. So now we are stacked at running back because we've got Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, Aaron Jones, who else? And Melvin Gordon, all at running back. So we're doing okay. We're on a 2-game losing streak, but we're still sitting in third in an 8-team league. Top 4 make the playoffs. So she's not doing too bad. And she's starting to learn now that each week that you lose is a learning experience. Producer Dave watching. What is he saying here? I'm always picking up people off the waiver wire and focus on advantageous match. That's a brilliant way to do it, and that's one of the things that I do, especially when it comes to like a defense or something. And that won me a championship one year, and it was a money league. And I want to say it was the Chargers were taking on the Jets, and this was probably 6 or 7 years ago. And it was the finals matchup, the final week, so it was week 16 of the NFL season. And I went in, I swooped in, and I got the San Diego Chargers, obviously when they were still San Diego, the Chargers defense. And man, they had a field day with the Jets that day and lit them up for something like 35 points, and that won me the championship that year. So matchups are very important when it comes to fantasy. I have had to change it up, though, because originally I had no limit on waiver wire pickups, but there was this one guy that used to be in the league. He was the husband of somebody I worked with, and he was obnoxious because he would do things like he would constantly change his team name, and I would get complaints from other people in the league, and they're like, "Dude, why is this guy changing his name? It's confusing to me. Could you just ask him to stop?" And so I did. And another thing that he would do is he would go in and just claim all these people off the waiver wire so it locked them in. So you could add and drop, but if once you added somebody and then dropped them, they're locked until like Sunday day, and nobody can pick them up. So, and he would do that. And he's like, "Oh, I just don't know who I want on my team." And so I ended up having to put like a 35 move cap or something like that on the waiver wire because like it was to the point where this dude was just becoming obnoxious, and I actually booted him from the league in the middle of the season. Because he didn't like he acted like a 6-year-old. It was, "Well, I want to do this, so I'm going to do it." It's like, dude, that's not how life works, man. Like I'm trying to be nice, and like other people are complaining about your actions. A normal adult human being would be like, "Oh, like I apologize. Like that's not my intent." But him was like, "Well, no, I want to do it." So and it was just like, you know what? I don't have fucking time for this. Goodbye. So I booted his ass out of the league. But anyway, so that was a little more fantasy talk than I was anticipating. But moving on, we've got some baseball talk, and I hate the fact that the Twins are taking on the Yankees in the first round because if history proves anything, it's that the Twins will crap the bed in the playoffs against the Yankees. Although I don't know if you can really call it crap in the bed this year because the Yankees technically do have home field advantage. They had the better record. Somehow the Yankees, man, you got to give them credit for the sheer amount of injuries that they dealt with this year to win the division and have the second best record in all of the AL. Was it even the second best record in all of Major League Baseball that they had? Because it was 4 teams had over 100 wins this season. You had the Yankees, the Twins, the Astros, and the Dodgers all with more than 100 wins. You had the Yankees with 103. You had the Twins with 101. Astros with 107 and the Dodgers with 106. So yeah, the Yankees had the second best record in the AL, third best record overall. But it's kind of exciting because for the Twins, this wasn't supposed to be a big year for them. They were still working on that rebuild, and it was maybe they would make the wild card, but that was still iffy. The Indians were the team that were supposed to win the AL Central this year because they were supposed to be better. Man, they still won 93 games, and the Indians didn't make the playoffs. Like that's how insane this year was for baseball. But I'm excited about it. Fall, man, it brings on playoff baseball, and I absolutely love playoff baseball. There's the 2 sports that I thoroughly love when it comes to the playoffs, and that is baseball and hockey. And we're going to get to hockey here in just a minute. But anyway, yeah. So the Twins, they're going to be facing the Yankees coming up on Friday. If I remember, I will wear my Twins jersey to the show on Friday morning. Although man, I'll wear it, but I don't have high hopes just because I'm used to them not doing well in the playoffs. And man, they had a really rough stretch this year. They started out like gangbusters right out of the gate. Boom, best record in the league. And then there's a major dip in the middle of the season there for the Twins, where they were losing. The Indians at one point had actually come back, and it was just kind of doing this. And then thankfully by the end of the season, the Twins were able to win it all in the AL Central with 101 wins. They actually won the division by 8 games. But yeah, playoff baseball is just super cool, man. It's so much fun. It's so exciting. I absolutely love playoff baseball, especially since I have kind of a vested interest in playoff baseball now. Moving on, so that other sport that I like with the playoffs, hockey. Now, this is where I'm absolutely torn right now because I've had a few different ideas of what I was going to do because the NHL season kicks off tonight. So you got the St. Louis Blues out there. They're looking to defend their Stanley Cup title. And for me, I've never had an NHL team. Well, NHL wasn't anything I watched as a kid. I always enjoyed going and watching hockey live when I was a kid because there's a WHL team. They're the Winterhawks. And that was always a really cool experience. And I'm telling you, like hockey live is awesome. But I don't have a specific team. When I moved to Florida, I kind of leaned towards the Florida Panthers just because that was like the one team I could get behind. I hate the Dolphins, I hate the Heat, and I really don't like the Marlins. But that was one team I could get behind. But they sucked every single year. But one cool thing was we did have a really good relationship with them, with the radio station that I worked for. So we did get a lot of free tickets to go check out the Florida Panthers. Now, the problem is they suck, so I think they're out. Um, I've got a special connection with the Chicago Blackhawks because, as I said, Portland has the Winterhawks, and that's where they got their first jerseys from. If you look at their logos, it's exactly the same because the Chicago Blackhawks gave the jerseys to the Winterhawks way, way, way back in the day, and that's how they got their original uniforms. So that's kind of that link there. I've got the Boston Bruins. That's the New England Patriot. Me being a fan of them, that's the connection there because that's one thing about Boston sports is they're really good at when the Red Sox are in the playoffs or the Bruins are in the playoffs. The other teams are very supportive. They're posting on social media, "Go Bees" or "Go Pats" or whatever it may be. So there's that connection there too. But I love Alexander Ovechkin, man. Like that dude is hilarious. And when they won the cup a couple of years ago, I think that dude hasn't sobered up since that celebration, since all of that stuff. And he's a riot. Like he is an absolute kick in the pants. I know that one of the biggest knocks on him for a long time was the fact that he's considered one of the best in the league. It was kind of like him and Sidney Crosby, but Washington never got out of the playoffs. And that was like out of the first round. And Washington seemed cursed for years between the Capitals and the Nationals. They would go into the playoffs with one of the best records, and they would just fizzle out. Man, it was so weird. David is saying that the Florida Panthers are good back in the '90s. Yeah, I know that they were good back in the '90s, like when they were the one of the expansion franchises and everything else. That's cool, but I think they're out. Now, I mentioned this on the air today. This is where it gets difficult for me because every year when it comes to hockey, I always tell myself I'm going to follow it. I want to watch it. I got NBCSN. I'm going to follow hockey. And for some reason, it just never quite pans out. I'm never really quite into it as much as I want to be. And then all of a sudden, the Stanley Cup playoffs come around. I start watching it again. And I'm like, God, I wish I would have been watching this all year, especially when it's like winter time, because that's when it's the best to watch hockey. You get the Winter Classic. It's outdoors. Like, that's really, really cool stuff. But if I have a team, then I have a vested interest. Then I have a team that I can actively root for. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. And originally, one of the things that I was going to do is I was going to take all those teams that I've kind of had a vested interest in a little bit, being the Panthers, the Capitals, the Blackhawks, the Bruins, and and David mentioned also the Golden Knights here too. Yeah, because I was a big fan of watching them a couple of years ago when they made that run to the Stanley Cup playoffs or to the Stanley Cup Finals actually. But man, like I was going to bring a hat. Literally, I was going to bring a hat. Each team was going to be in the hat. I was going to pull out one team, and I was going to be like, boom, this is who I'm following this year. And I wasn't able to commit to that. I don't know why. This is so difficult for me. So I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do yet still, despite the fact that the NHL season starts tonight. But I'm planning on locking in. I don't know if I'll be able to watch it tonight. Because I'm going to be drawing. I think I mentioned this before. When it comes to our Halloween decorations at the house, I'm actually going to be. I draw silhouettes every year, and so this year I'm putting something else up. It's going to be pretty cool. But I need to work on that. So David says go for the El Paso Rhinos. Well, of course them, but you know. And sometimes live hockey, man. And they have I haven't even been to a Rhinos game, but they got those really cool seats in the corner where it looks kind of like a little bar area. Like that's pretty damn cool, man. So if you live in El Paso, go check out a Rhinos game. But anyway, moving on. We're going to keep this episode of the AfterBuzz kind of a little bit shorter today because I got a ton of crap that I got to do. One of the other things I want to bring up right now is the Gunslinger, which is the first book in the Dark Tower series. And we talked about reading yesterday because a new study had said something to the effect of it was like 75% or 73% of people have picked up a book, meaning 27% of people haven't even touched a book in the past year. I make it a point to read pretty regularly. I'm generally reading one fiction, one nonfiction, and not one, but my comic books. That's always a thing too. And right now I'm reading for the nonfiction book. It's a meditation book on Taoist meditation book is what it is. And then the other book that I'm reading is The Gunslinger, which is the first book in the Dark Tower series. Oh my God, this book is so flippin' boring. Like it's sat there. Like I'll generally I make sure I pick it up at least a couple of times a week. It's sat there for at least 2 weeks, and I'm like, God, this thing is fucking stupid. This is a boring ass book. And Buzz confirmed it when on the air yesterday, where he was like, "Yeah, this book stinks." He's like, "You can go ahead and stop reading it. You're not going to you're not going to miss anything." But I had enough people convince me yesterday that it's going to get good, so I'm sticking it out. They said it's right around page 120 when the Gunslinger really starts to pick up. And yesterday I was saying I was on page 75. I think I went a little bit further. I was on page 60 last night when I opened the book back up. So right now I'm on page like 70 or 72 or something like that. So I will continue with the Gunslinger and let you guys know, whether or not I continue, because at this point I'm committed. I'm going to finish the Gunslinger. But if it's not good, I'm not going to continue the Dark Tower series. There was a listener who reached out on Facebook yesterday who said that, yeah, it's pretty boring for those first 120 pages, but after that, all of a sudden you've read all the books, you've read all the comic books, and you become completely invested in the series. And I'm like, I'm hoping that that's what it is. It sounds pretty cool. But that's where we're at on the book stuff. And another final topic here for the AfterBuzz. Before I get into this, I'm going to remind you, if there is anything you want to bring up in the old YouTube chat, David's talking about hockey in there. We've got producer Dave as well. Your name doesn't have to be Dave in order to post into the YouTube chat. Just letting you guys know that right now. But if there's any questions or comments, you're more than welcome to do that right now. But the final topic I wanted to discuss has to do with the law in California, this basic pay-to-play law, which is skirting a lot of the things that it's beneficial. Because one of the issues that doesn't get brought up a lot is when you get into paying college players, is you would then be talking about medical pay, insurance, and also unions, possibly unionizing the players, and that can throw a major cog into the works. I mean, look at what we deal with the big leagues, where you got the NFL and the NBA, and it's like every 7 or 8 years you're looking at a potential work stoppage because the CBA is about to expire and they're still negotiating it. And if they don't have a new one, there's going to be a lockout, which can be a major problem. But what this does in California is this allows the players to be able to basically make money on their own likeness. Now, if you haven't heard what Tim Tebow was talking about, where he's like, "Well, I went to Florida because it's where my granddad, he dreamed of winning an SEC championship," which wasn't true because the SEC wouldn't have existed when his grandfather was a kid. But I always find it funny that always kind of gets glazed over a little bit. But yeah, so and he's like, it's for the love of the game. Bullshit. It hasn't been for the love of the game in a long ass time. And yeah, Tim Tebow can get through college just fine. But there's a lot of these other athletes who aren't coming from rich families, who are trying to scrape by. Just fucking it's such bullshit that these players are not able to actually make money based on their likeness, all because a bunch of rich white people don't want to fucking allow them into their little club of making money with college sports. It's $1 billion industry, and the actual people putting in the work are making nothing off of it. So I fully support it. There's other states that are working on it as well. I know Florida's working on one. That could really hose things up, because Florida's planning on getting theirs ready to go next year. California's doesn't go into effect until 2023. So Florida's could really throw a cog into these works. But anyway, I'm a big advocate of what California is doing, and I hope that most of the states jump on it so that we can start to get these athletes, paid legally. Like, that's the thing. Because right now they're getting paid, but it's illegal. So if they get caught, they're getting in trouble. And it's just the stupidest thing. Same thing goes for pot. Like, when it comes, like, well, it's illegal in our league, but it's legal in the state, but you can't use it. Like, it's some of these laws and rules and everything else are just beyond stupid. They make absolutely no sense. And the reason that they're stupid is because it's a bunch of rich-ass white people trying to control everybody else with their laws that make absolutely no sense, but it only benefits them. It doesn't benefit anybody else. It's whatever they ultimately want. And that's absolute horseshit. Franklin Sharples joining the old chat there. So Keanu Reeves has a chance to be a replacement again if the college kid strikes. I would say so. He would be able to come back, play a little quarterback for was it red and blue that they were playing for? Because it always reminded me a little bit of Florida Gator colors that they wore, but it was red and blue, not orange and blue in the replacements, if I'm remembering correctly. But anyway, on that note, I'm going to about wrap up this edition of the AfterBuzz. I told you we're going to keep this one a little bit shorter. just because I got a lot of things I got to tackle today. Producer Dave, again, is off. Today, he's out dealing with his real job. But hopefully he'll be here next week, and you guys can shower him with thank yous because he's not only helping me out here on the AfterBuzz, he's also helped us set up all the cameras out there in the studio. Again, if you watch the Facebook stream and you're having issues, let us know about it, because one of the things that we've been running into with the morning show is that it will start and then you have to restart it and stuff because it just sits there and pauses and pauses and pauses nonstop over and over, and that's something that we don't want, obviously. But other than that, I think the cameras look pretty nice. Yeah, so if you guys are having issues with it, please let us know so we can try to figure out what these issues are so we can give you the best experience possible when it comes to the streaming. And on top of all of that stuff, producer Dave watched our dog while we were gone over in Austin over the weekend, because the first two dogs, we got Rocky and Chewy, they take care of themselves. Chewy can be left out in the yard. Rocky, he can go hang out with the other Yorkies. Lucy's a maniac, though. She digs, she chews on things. Like, I don't trust her to be in the yard by herself. Like, she'd get lonely, and it's a matter of time until she figures out she can jump the damn fence. So I'm really hoping that doesn't happen soon, but I guess we're going to find out. But yeah, so a big thank you to producer Dave for all of the help that he's been providing to myself and everybody here at the station as well when it comes to these cameras and things. So on that note, have yourselves a fantastic Wednesday. Anything else big coming up? Not that I can think of. Don't forget Rockstar 101, new episode went up Monday. Shim's talking about recording drums and some other things. You can find that on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Also, do not forget about the Buzz Adams Morning Show podcast, which can be found on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts as well. Just in case you're not getting enough of us, you can always hit us up on there and you can give them a listen. On that note, have yourselves a fantastic day. Again, make sure you guys are clicking the like button and you're subscribing. And you're getting the notifications for when we go live, because we were a little bit late today because, well, for a couple of reasons. I was setting it up, and my dumb ass forgot to turn on the microphones. If you don't know what I'm talking about, once this stops, just rewind to the beginning. I'm full on just having the conversation, doing the AfterBuzz, and there's no audio because they didn't turn the mics on. So anyway, on that note, have a fantastic Wednesday. Remember, 10:30 Mountain Time right here on the KLAQ YouTube channel for the AfterBuzz, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. for the Buzz Adams Morning Show. And all I have to do is click this, I think. So I'll see you.